Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check updates, the two new upcoming packages. Part one, the physical infrastructure package, which has now passed the Senate and will be moving on to the House of Representatives, which they may or may not vote on by itself. I will be giving you some interesting information on how the Democrats are kind of divided on that, kind of are fighting amongst themselves on that. And then part two, the next stimulus package, which is $3.5 trillion, the largest stimulus package ever yet to date. The Democrats are also fighting on that as well, as they're trying to move forward on that. And some Democrats want it to be larger, the Bernie Sanders, the Elizabeth Warrens, the AOCs. And then some Democrats are like, I don't know, $3.5 trillion is a lot of money. The Kirsten Cinemas and the Joe Mansions of the world. Dun, dun, dun. They're like, yeah, $3.5 trillion is a lot of money. Remember, both of these packages are different than the previous stimulus packages. All the stimulus packages passed by former President Donald Trump. There was actually five packages that he passed, two that had stimulus checks, three other very minor stimulus packages that didn't have stimulus checks. But were very, very, very minor packages, five packages total by former President Trump. One stimulus package passed by President Biden, the third stimulus check package. All of those didn't have any tax raises or anything like that, and are largely considered that nobody paid for them. They just went on the national deficit, and just kind of, nobody really paid for them. These two packages that are currently they're working on passing now, the infrastructure package that has passed the Senate but not the House, and the stimulus package that is kind of partially being passed in the Senate right now. Remember, it goes through a multi-vote passing process. It passes in multiple different voting stages. Two votes have taken place right now in the Senate, and they have passed it with 50 Democrats votes yes, 49 Republicans have voted no. It's not fully passed. There's not even a bill yet, okay? They haven't even wrote the bill yet. I know this might get a little bit confused. I'm just trying to explain it the best I can. But they have voted twice on the stimulus package and have voted yes. The Democrats have voted yes, but there's no bill. It's not passed in the Senate yet. And even when it passes the Senate, then it goes to the House. Okay, but they are working through this process right now. So I'm going to kind of give you all the details on that, as well as unemployment refund checks. Some pretty interesting news if you're waiting on that as well as what's going on in our country and what is going on in Washington, D.C. in our channel. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with all the news you need to know about. So let's jump right in. Also, don't forget to hit the like button for us. I will keep you up to date with everything. Okay, IRS unemployment tax refund updates. So this refers to the $10,200 stimulus provision that was added in the third stimulus check package at the very last moment. This meant that if you had unemployment income for last year, 2020, this was a stimulus provision added in the third stimulus check package literally at the very last moment. And by the very last moment, I mean they wrote the stimulus bill, the House of Representatives passed the bill, and the Senate changed the bill at the very last moment, added this stimulus provision in that said the first $10,200 unemployment income would be tax free. This meant that if you had unemployment income from last year retroactively, that you would get the first $10,200 of unemployment income would be tax free. This means that you would get anywhere from several $100s to several $1,000s back as a stimulus check or unemployment refund, whatever you want to consider it, back. Some people get several $100s. Some people actually got over $3,000 back. Well, you might be getting a check this week. Yeah, that didn't highlight very well. You might be getting a check this week if you're still waiting on it. Direct deposits have typically begun on Wednesdays for the unemployment related tax refunds that have been going out since May and are still kind of going out in batches while some new information have just been come out. Check this out. More tax refund checks related to this unemployment stimulus provision for people who are overpaid taxes. Again, based on the stimulus provision, you kind of know what I'm talking about here. For 2020 unemployment compensation, are now getting fresh signs that the next round of payments could be coming as soon as next week. A number of excited social media users took to Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook groups on Friday, saying that their online tax transcripts had updated with a payment date of Wednesday, August 18th. That would be consistent with historical payment patterns from the IRS, which has typically begun sending out unemployment related refunds on a Wednesday for people with direct deposit. Previous rounds have been hitting bank accounts on July 14th and July 28th, both Wednesdays. As of Friday morning, the IRS has not officially announced when the next round of payments expected in August could be delivered, but people are seeing these pending. So let me know and let our viewers know down below in the comments if you see a pending payment for unemployment tax refunds or stimulus provisions, unemployment tax refunds, whatever you want to call this. It has several different names. It is a stimulus provision from the third stimulus check package. Also, it is a possible provision that could be included in the next stimulus package, the fourth stimulus check package, or even really the next stimulus package after this. There will be more stimulus packages after this as the Democrats get a whole nother set of reconciliation cards on October 1st, which is only about a month and a half from now. There will be more packages passed after this. Anything that doesn't kind of get added in this package, which is the largest stimulus package yet to date at $3.5 trillion. It could be negotiated down or up. We're getting a lot of Democrats that are kind of saying it should be more. Some saying it should be less. And we'll kind of get into some more details of that in this video. And it could get negotiated up or down. We're getting some Democrats saying stimulus checks should be added. We're getting some Democrats saying child tax credits should be more. We're getting some Republicans saying that the child tax credits should have a provision added on there that say you should have earned income to get the child tax credits, that the Democrats just changed in the last package to say that earned income would not be a provision anymore for child tax credits. So they're going through a lot of negotiations right now on what will be in this next stimulus package. We just had Republicans throw. Remember that I'm getting a lot of questions on why are Republicans even negotiating here, and I also seen a lot of questions on why did Republicans vote. I thought that Republicans were not part of this process. And remember that even though Democrats are going to pass this next stimulus package, um, just like the Democrats passed the third stimulus check package without a single Republican votes. Republicans are still part of the voting process, even though they're all going to vote no, just like the third stimulus check package. All the Democrats voted yes, all the Republicans vote no. The Republicans still vote. Okay, they're still going to be part of the amendment process, even though largely the Democrats are just going to pretty much ignore all their amendments. The Democrats could um, accept any of their amendments or consider their amendments. But the Democrats and the Republicans are still part of the voting process. So when we've seen the first two votes for the stimulus package, again, the votes were 50 yeses for the Democrats and 49 votes for the Republicans. That's just because there was one Republican senator that was out sick. I think it was Lindsey Graham. I'd have to double check that because in the article I seen, it just said the votes. It didn't mention who was the Republican out sick. If you know, you could mention in the comments. I just didn't take the time to scour through who the person was out sick. It didn't really matter because the vote would have passed anyways, because if it was a 50-50 tie, then the vice president, who is Kamala Harris, vice president of the United States, would have just stepped in for the tiebreaker vote. So it was really the detail really didn't matter because the Democrats are going to pass this either way. So in every single vote through this process, the Democrats are going to pass it with all the Democrats. So all the Democrats are going to vote yes. All the Republicans are going to vote no. So all the Republicans could not show up at all. Literally, all the Republicans could be out sick and not show up, and the Democrats could vote without them. In fact, there was a vote. Um, I can't remember what vote it was, but there was a vote where there was a symbolic vote where one of the parties didn't show up, and in kind of I can't remember what vote that was either. There was a vote. It was a symbolic vote where one of the parties didn't show up because they were just completely upset with the other side. But like the Republicans could not show up for the vote, and the Democrats could still pass it without them. Okay, so again, half the Republicans could not show up because they could just be disgusted with the vote. The Democrats would still pass it. So again, that's just how it is. Remember, Republicans were in charge of the House, the Senate, and the presidency in 2017 and 2018. And that's when they passed the 2017 Trump tax cuts, when they were in control of everything. They passed that with the reconciliation process. So, again, both sides kind of have their crack at the bat with the reconciliation process. It seems like every couple years, they kind of get their swing at the bat. One of the Republican proposals here, again, that the Democrats could consider if they want to, they probably won't, would allow for unemployment pay for employees who quit their job. So, again, we're seeing all these vaccine mandates from companies and certain parts of the government. But a Republican proposal that came out would allow for unemployment pay for employees who quit their job. Remember, you're not supposed to get unemployment pay if you quit your job, but this new Republican proposal would allow that if passed. But again, this is just a proposal, not something that's passed. So remember, we're seeing a lot of proposals right now from Democrats and Republicans to be included in this next package, and we'll see what actually ends up in this next package, the next stimulus package. Another proposal that was just kind of proposed that could be in this next package is a caregivers tax credit bill. Remember, we're seeing a lot of tax credits. Remember, tax credits are really just a form of money. Remember, a stimulus check is actually called a tax credit. The child tax credits, we kind of all know what those are. They're basically checks, they're sending them out in advance. You get half of it on your taxes, they're sending the other half out in advance right now. They're also saying that there's going to be an adult tax credit. We don't know how that's going to work, if they're going to be sent out as stimulus checks, if they're going to be sent out in advance, or if you're going to have to wait on your tax returns. Who's going to get them? How much they're going to be? We don't know. We just have a new proposal here for a caregiver's tax credit introduced into Congress. Here's some details on this, what this could be, if this could be included. Check this out. Here's a bill that was just introduced that would offer up to a $5,000 tax credit for family caregivers. Has been introduced in both chambers, the House and the Senate, in Congress. The credit for a Caring Act of 2021 has been authorized in the House by Representative Loretta Sanchez, a Democrat from California, and in the Senate by Joni Ernst, a Republican from Iowa. So what's interesting here is this was actually authored by a Republican and a Democrat. So this actually may have a good chance to be included in this next package because it has Republican and Democratic support. Um, but remember, the Republicans don't really have control. But it's interesting to see here that it's authored by a Republican and a Democrat, co-sponsored by Elizabeth Warren, Michael Bennet, and Shelley Capito, another Republican. Very interesting situation here. The bill would give eligible family caregivers a 30% tax credit for qualified expenses above $2,000. The credit could be utilized to offset the cost of services such as home care aides, adult daycare, and respite care, paying for others to care for relatives, in addition to modifications such as ramps and smart technology designed to make caregiving easier and safer at home. Quote, as the daughter of two parents diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, I know the responsibility placed on family caregivers in similar situations across the country, and I know the personal sacrifices they make every day, Sanchez said in a statement. Especially during caregivers have been asked to juggle working from home and caring for a loved one, all while managing the financial responsibility associated with caregiving. The Credit for Caring Act will help alleviate some of that burden by providing a tax credit for services such as home care and adult daycare. I am proud to work with colleagues on both sides of the aisle to find solutions for so many who need all the help they can get. So, again, this particular bill could offer up to a $5,000 tax credit for family caregivers, has been introduced in both chambers, the House and the Senate, could be included in this next package. So, basically, this could be a $5,000 refund on your tax refund. So, an additional $5,000 refund on your taxes. So, if you normally get, say, a $1,000 tax refund, you could get a $6,000 tax refund as an example. They could provide it as a advanced refund where they could give you the money in advance like they're doing with the child tax credits. Tax credits can work in a multitude of ways. This probably wouldn't be an advanced tax credit. This would probably be something you would get on your tax return. But again, tax credits are basically money in your pocket, but this would probably be a tax credit you would get on your tax refund. Yeah, so all these different type of tax credits, which are basically money back to you in either in your tax refund. You don't necessarily even have to file taxes to get a tax credit. Remember, the child tax credits, you can just file on the non-filer tool to get that. By the way, I had a very big update yesterday on the child tax credits. If you didn't get it, if you get the child tax credits if you have children, you probably should watch that video. I'll link it to that video here at the end of this video, which is just going to be in a minute or two about that. So if you haven't watched that video from yesterday about the child tax credits, I have a lot of important information going on about that that I'll link you to here in a moment. If you're not getting your child tax credits, if you think you're eligible, anything about that, I had a pretty big information video about the child tax credits yesterday. But there's probably going to be a lot of tax credits in this next stimulus package. Remember that a stimulus check is actually a tax credit. They actually just pay it out to you in advance. I know that tax credits get confusing to people, but remember, you get a stimulus check, which is actually an advanced refundable tax credit, even if you don't file taxes. So, yeah, stimulus check, the actual name of a stimulus check is an advanced refundable tax credit. You don't have to actually file tax credit. You can be a non-filer or someone who doesn't have any earned income or anything like that and still qualify for a stimulus check. Same thing with the child tax credits. They changed that in the third stimulus check package where you didn't need any earned income at all to receive the child tax credits. They're also saying there's going to be an adult tax credits in this next stimulus package. We don't know what that's going to be yet, how much it's going to be, who's going to qualify, income thresholds, or anything like that, if it's going to be paid out as an advanced tax credit like the child tax credits are with these monthly checks going out. We don't know those details yet. They could be still negotiating on them. They could still be figuring them out. Remember, they haven't wrote the bill yet for the fourth stimulus package yet. So they're kind of working through that process. They've passed the first two votes of the voting process for the next stimulus package. But that kind of has just like unlocked the first parts, the reconciliation process of the next stimulus package. It's all kind of a process here. And then they're going to write the bill here sometime soon. And then even after they write the bill, they're going to end up modifying it based on what gets added in or subtracted. Remember that both times in the second stimulus check package and the third stimulus check package, even after they wrote the bill, they significantly modified it after they wrote the bill. In the second stimulus check package, they wrote the bill, and they actually wrote the bill and didn't even have a stimulus check added in after they wrote the bill. So the second stimulus check package started off as a stimulus package without a stimulus check. That's right. If you have been watching this channel for a while, that stimulus package was going to have money to states and cities, but not have a stimulus check to people. And people were so outraged, and Senator Bernie Sanders was so outraged. And at the time, Republican Senator Josh Hawley, Republicans controlled the Senate and the presidency. Former President Donald Trump. This was back in like November and December of last year. That People were so outraged. They're like, you can't pass another stimulus package without a stimulus check. People demanded a stimulus check be added in. And after the bill was wrote, they forced them to add a stimulus check in there, the second stimulus check package. And they modified the bill, took $160 billion away from states and cities and gave states and cities no money. And the second stimulus check was born. So yeah, even in the second stimulus check package, they were going to put no stimulus check in there. And Senator Bernie Sanders and Republican Senator Josh Hawley, who actually just made a very interesting proposal for a $6,000 stimulus per person, that I will link you to a video on that as well if you didn't see that video, that has some very interesting qualifications on that. Yeah. But that was when Republicans were in control of the Senate and the presidency under former President Trump. Now things are very different because the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they're going to pass this package without Republicans. So, yeah, the bills are going to. History just kind of shows us that even after they write the bill, they're probably going to change it. The third stimulus check package did the same thing. They wrote the bill, the House passed the bill, and even after the House passed the bill, the Senate this time changed it significantly. They took out the $15 an hour minimum wage after the House even passed it. Number one, because the Senate parliamentarians said that it shouldn't be in there, but really because they just didn't have enough votes. Only 42 senators voted yes on that. Second, they lowered the income threshold for the stimulus checks. They really just said that single filers that weren't head of households shouldn't get a stimulus check. That's just what they said, not no judgment. I'm not the one passing these packages, but they said if you're a single filer and you're not even a head of household, that you shouldn't qualify for a stimulus check. They lowered that to $80,000 was the cutoff. And then they added in that $10,200 unemployment provision, which really gave an extra check, whether you consider that a stimulus check, a stimulus provision, or a tax break, unemployment tax break, whatever you consider it, a stimulus provision. They added that in there literally at the last minute, right before the Senate passed it, after the House had already passed their bill. So then it had to go back to the House, and the House had to repass it because the Senate had passed a different version of the bill. But if you had unemployment income from last year and that provided you an extra 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, or some people are even getting $4,000 or $5,000 unemployment tax break checks, you're like, thank God they did that, because yeah, that gave you thousands of dollars extra money. You're like, thank God they did that, because that was pretty cool. So yeah, anything's up for grabs this time around, even after they write the bill, because history shows us that even after they write the bill, they kind of throw that goodie grab bag in at the very last moment, and that's what they did last time around. So if you just got your unemployment check, that tax-free check, if you're waiting on it this week, or if you just got it like last week or last month, and you're like, yeah, I got $2,000 or $3,000, or even if you got $800 or whatever you got, right? You're like, yeah, that was pretty cool. Well, guess what? They added that in literally at the last moment. In fact, they were in the voting process. Interesting story here. Senator Joe Manchin, they were in the voting process. Joe Manchin, they took him off the voting floor into a back room. This is hearsay, okay, but this is apparently what happened. They took Joe Manchin in the back room of the Senate chamber while the voting process was going on, and they negotiated with him for like over 8 hours while the voting was going on, and they had to come back, reconvene, and restart the voting process. And it ended up being, the vote was going on while this was going on, so they literally just paused the vote, and it ended up going in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest vote ever, because they literally just left the floor while it was voting and ended up adding that provision in and lowering the income threshold. Those two things were added in, like they literally went off the floor and negotiated that. Because Joe Manchin was like, literally, he was like, I don't think people should be getting a stimulus check for if they're making $100,000. And this is kind of the chatter that they're still saying right now, because there's people saying that a stimulus check should be added, but then there's people saying, I don't think couples that are making, and again, this is not me saying this, is just the chatter I'm hearing. Couples making $160,000 really don't need another stimulus check around. But there's a lot of people saying that there's a lot of people that do need stimulus checks around, around, and then there's people saying, Well, but all these children are getting this $3,000 to $3,600. The children are taken care of, but all the other people are not taken care of. So we need to take care of these other people. So this is kind of what the chatter is going around. So, and I totally agree. The children are getting these checks, but all these other people are not getting checks. And that's kind of where I think that they need to fill the hole in here. They're going to probably extend these child tax credits. They're going to have an adult tax credit too, but they really need to provide some type of stimulus check for the adults that are not getting the child tax credits, aka they need to provide a stimulus check for adults, not really children, because the children are already taken care of. And I will see you in the next video, in the next video, in the next video, in the next